I'm going to toss it to Matt Campbell, who is going to run this panel discussion. So Matt, it's on you, man. You're up next.
Right. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As Jeff mentioned, my name is Matt Campbell. I'll be hosting the discussion today, which will be all about contact center solutions. As many of you may already know, contact centers are all about customer experience, which in this context really boils down to the various interactions between an end customer and a company or brand throughout all aspects of a customer's journey. It's heavily focused on the relationship between a business and its end customers. And today we're going to talk about some of the underlying technologies, industry trends, and a bit about the future of these solutions. A little bit about me. I'm product manager here at InterVision for our collaboration and contact center solutions. Prior to my role as product manager, I spent many years designing, implementing IT solutions for our customers as a solutions architect and as a systems engineer, focused mainly on voice and network related technologies, which includes contact center solutions. Joining me today are Josh Ellis and Brad Holland, who are both contact center specialists here at InterVision, and Michael Molla, who is our Director of Collaboration. Today's discussion will be an open dialogue between our panelists. After the discussion, we'll conclude with a Q&A session at the end. With that said, if anyone has any questions along the way, please enter them into the chat, as we'll be monitoring the chat and responding to your questions at the end. Josh, Brad, Michael, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind each giving us a brief introduction about yourselves and your backgrounds?
Yep. Hey, y'all. Josh Ellis here. Most of my career has been in the contact center space, specifically in pre-sales and sales roles. I also spent time doing project management, so helping contact centers migrate to more modern cloud-based platforms. This gave me a lot of hands-on experience and perspective as far as what goes down day to day in the contact center. As Matt mentioned, I'm currently a contact center specialist here at InterVision. I have a focus on Amazon Connect.
All right, thank you. Brad? Or Michael?
Yeah, hey, I hope Ben Martin's still on here, because I want to give a shout out to Ben. He and I he was talking about he's still, in the same part of technology that he originated and still stuck with the knock and the tack and the help desk. That's where I started as well 23 years ago. And the difference between Ben and I was, I was the designing contact centers, building knocks, but not necessarily that day-to-day hands-on work, but how to improve the support that we could give them through the voice channels, email channels, and reporting. So I kind of feel like, Ben and I came up at the same time doing the same kind of things, and honestly are both kind of the same kind of people. As we're fixers, we're helpers, we want to do that. After a few years of doing that, I moved into the voice team because, again, 20 years ago, it was pretty uncommon to have somebody like me who was a Cisco and Microsoft certified engineer. And I've been here ever since. Collaboration, contact center, AV, all those things are something I'm really passionate about and I've always enjoyed. Thanks, Matt.
No problem. It seems like Brad is having some trouble joining us with. Brad is also a contact center specialist, as is Josh, and he spent nearly two decades of his career focusing on contact center solutions. Very, very adept in this area of technology. Once he joins us here, we'll have him give a brief introduction on top of that. So with that said, let's move into some of the questions here. And the first one I have is what is a contact center? Why is it such a hot topic right now? And is a contact center the same as a call center? Everybody knows what a call center is, I think. So what are the differences between the two?
Well, Like I was kind of alluding to, is a call center is what we all grew up with. 20, 25 years ago, if you wanted help, you wanted support, you conducted business by voice. You picked up the phone and you called somebody. Then we created these IVRs, voice response systems and things like that. Started creating queues where you could get queued up depending on, were you calling to initiate business? Were you calling for a customer complaint? Were you calling to get into sales? And that's fairly recently that we have taken that and turned that from a call center where all you did was call in and then added email. So you would email in, it would be the same group of people, perhaps, maybe a slightly different skill set, but now I've created and taken that contact center idea even farther along. So it's not just voice channels. It's not just email channels. It is social media and SMS, and there's all sorts of different ways to communicate, collaborate with your customers. And basically, it's also is how your customers are connecting with their customers. Omni-channel contact centers are simply the future of the way we're all going to do business.
Gotcha. So basically it's taking a call center and adding digital channels of various types onto it, so an evolution of technology over time. And you mentioned the omni-channel word there, and how it encompasses more than telephone calls, such as chat and email and SMS and things of that nature. What are some interesting use cases that we are seeing with companies who are utilizing omni-channel experiences in their contact centers today? Anyone?
Yeah, I can take that one. One thing I absolutely love is the concept of channel hopping. I think voice tends to be the preferred channel across the board, and a lot of the times that's what people will default to. But let me give you an example. What if I call in and I hear a message that says, hey, our hold time to talk to an agent is 10 minutes, but we can help you immediately via chat. Would you like us to send you a link? So we have that customer's phone number, very likely a cell. We can text them a pre-signed URL, which is going to either open up a web-based chat client, or it can just allow them to SMS back and forth with that agent. Benefit one, since agents can handle a number of concurrent chats versus only one voice call at a time, you've actually enabled your contact center to help more customers faster. I think the other idea here is that moving forward, customers might decide to try a different channel other than voice the next time they need to contact you. I actually have a recent real world example that really impressed me. I had a callback scheduled, I think it was with Experian. The callback reached me. It asked me to press 1 to talk to an agent, press 2 if I needed to reschedule. I needed to reschedule, so I'm having this internal dialogue about the whole hassle of having to reschedule with the agent over the phone. So anyways, I pressed 2, and then it said, thank you. We will text you about rescheduling, and disconnected. The agent actually sent me an SMS. I sent back a new time for the call, and it was a much more efficient process than me having to verbally reschedule with the agent or having that agent call me again randomly at some predetermined time.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I've had similar experiences. It's just definitely less frustrating than it used to be back in the day. So we could talk about how we're really, improving a customer's experience here when they get in touch with a company. I'm curious, how prevalent are omni-channel contact centers today, and are they fully ready for prime time?
Yeah, absolutely they are. But what Josh was talking about, that's not uncommon. We just don't realize it. You don't even think about it anymore. Another example of what Josh is talking about is, if you ever return something off of Amazon, right? You open the app and you press in that you want to do a return. It is a virtual bot or a virtual agent that initially communicates with you. It's smart enough to know who you are, what you ordered, and if, the first thing it asks is if you want to do a return, well, it knows what you just ordered. It knows what it was just delivered to you. It can do, some sentiment and analysis, and it can recognize if you're frustrated or upset, launch it into a live agent. Or if it's a simple transaction, you don't need an agent. You don't need to have somebody bogged down with a simple phone call of going, hey, I just want to return this thing. I don't like it. And off you go. You don't need a human being, and take the time for that. So a lot of times we don't even realize we're in those spaces. We don't realize that we're in an omnichannel contact center simply because they are everywhere. Email, voice, SMS, even Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, all these different channels, we use them a lot. Like I said, sometimes we just don't even recognize that all that data is being captured, reported on. It helps you improve your process. It helps improve the customer experience, especially if the contact to the contact center starts with a dissatisfied customer. An omnichannel contact center can turn that around and make it a positive experience.
Great. Yeah, that's interesting. So all those different channels are being funneled down into, the same agents who might answer the phone, and they can kind of multitask and respond to people on the channel of their choice, whether it be voice or text or what have you.
Yeah.
So thank you for that explanation. We're just going to take a brief moment. There's a poll up on the screen here with a few questions. If the audience might just take a few moments to respond to those, we would appreciate it.
Yeah, it's interesting to me is SMS I thought would be really the one that everybody would want, right? That seems to be the natural evolution. I have a customer right now that is absolutely demanding that SMS is a part of a channel because their HR department says, there's a demographic of people out there that just don't respond to a voicemail or a phone call. They don't check their email for a couple days at a time. But if you text them or MMS, send some sort of link or photo or something with them, there is a group of folks out there, talented people that you want to engage with your folks that will not respond otherwise. So, for me, is that I really thought that would be the highest one rated, but it looks like email and web chat seem to be the most popular answers.
Yeah, I get the feeling that younger generations tend to gravitate towards the digital or text-based channels, chat, SMS, email, perhaps, more so than voice, which is interesting. It seems to be the kind of the direction that that the world is going to a certain extent.
Definitely on that, Matt. I think it's almost the instant response. What people used to get with email, now it's with SMS. I think some organizations just haven't figured out how to integrate that into their go-to-market strategy with their clients and maybe specific demographics, like you stated earlier.
Sure. Another big topic in the contact center world and all of technology for that matter is artificial intelligence and machine learning, otherwise kind of termed AI ML for short. And so I'm curious if you guys have any opinions or insight into how artificial intelligence relates to the contact center today.
Yeah, let me just quickly define AI. I think the easiest way to put it is that it's an application of technology. It's taking something that a human can do, but automating it via computers. So a good example of this would be transcribing calls. A human could obviously manually listen to a call recording, manually write out that transcription, and so on. Not a very efficient process, but using AI, we can actually automate that entire transcription process, both historically and in real time. Just while we're on the topic, a couple more terms to define. NLU and NLP, which stands for natural language processing and natural language understanding. This is just an application of AI. It's taking that audio and it's contextually understanding the intent and purpose of that audio. This is the technology that it's really taking bots to the next level and making those interactions seem much more human-like.
And text as well, not just voice, understanding written word, right?
Correct. Yep, absolutely.
Gotcha. And other use cases for AI and ML would be, virtual agents, chat bots, self-service applications, and reporting and analytics as well. So we'll get into that here in a bit, I think. So there's really some exciting stuff happening here. With all the advancements in AI these days, what are customers starting to expect more of in regard to their experience when contacting a company or a brand?
Yeah, what I'm seeing, the big one is increases in personalization. At this point, integrating across systems, it's a lot easier. So customers are expecting that personalization in their contact center experience. This can go from something obvious like automatically greeting me by my name, or maybe quicker verification of who I am with something like voice biometrics. On the more advanced end, anticipating why I am calling, that's a big one. So in a 2022 case study, it's called Achieving Customer Excellence. It was sponsored by AWS. 74% of customers said that personalization is something that's important to them. So I think a lot of customers these days, they've really trained themselves to just say agent or operator as soon as they hit that IVR. But here's a different scenario. If that contact center can greet them and anticipate why they are calling, it's going to be a much better customer experience. So let's, for example, a flight cancellation happens and I need to rebook. Imagine being greeted by name and then right away you hear, "Hey, I see your recent flight was canceled. Would you like me to book you on the next available flight?" So this flows into the next concept that's very much powered by AI and ML, and that's the ability to self-service. So in this scenario, instead of talking to an agent and going through that entire process, we could easily automate the entire rebooking process, all of those steps via a bot, often termed a virtual agent, if you will. So at this point, contact centers, they should absolutely start automating the simple stuff. In that same study I referenced, 71% of customers, they said yes to self-service via digital channels. With a foundation of automation around that easy stuff, contact centers, they can start to tackle more complex problems with bots, aka again, virtual agents.
Very, very interesting. And also it's probably worth mentioning that these virtual agents they don't sleep, right? So they're available 24/7 and can help customers when a customer's call center or their live agents might be closed or not in operation. So it kind of extends the company or brand's ability to service its customers beyond what we used to have. So that's really interesting as well. On the self-service virtual agent concept is interesting, but can you provide some examples of common self-service implementations that any of you have seen companies using recently?
Yeah. I mean, Josh, you mentioned the airline, right? And you guys know, my experience with the, Southwest delays last weekend, right? We talked about that briefly, but it was exactly that. Was the flights are delayed. I've got vouchers in my hands. I'm on a plane. I've connected to the Wi-Fi, and I've got a flight from Texas to Atlanta in order to find my next flight home. Right? And there's no way I'm going to do this by searching flights.google.com, right? This is going to take me half an hour to even hopefully find the right one, because there's planes like Southeast and Breeze and JetBlue and all these that aren't even listed there. But if I can do some sort of self-service and somebody knows, or my flights know where I am, where I was last on the plane, where I last checked in, where I'm headed, and where my final destination is supposed to be, and that I've got vouchers in my hand, right? So I'm going to get some free flights out of this thing, even though I'm miserable and it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I don't know what time I'm getting home. Nobody's awake to help me out. There's no travel agent. If I try to call somebody, they're probably going to be offshore and near shore, but not necessarily on East Coast time. And if I didn't have the apps and the bots and the virtual agents that were steering me in the right direction, I certainly wouldn't have made my Monday morning meetings. So, you know, bad situation turned out okay. But I can assure you, back in the days, if I had to call an 800 number and wait on hold for 2 hours because there are 10,000 other people
Yeah.
that are missing their
Certainly
flights.
something that people saw a lot of during COVID when that first happened, and people were trying to get home and to other places, and it was just a mess, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, at the most basic level, I think a lot of this bot and automation experience, it's been around for a while, at least with a lot of banks and credit cards. So you do have some level of self-service there to check balances, payment dates, transactions, things like that. Another really cool example that comes to mind, maybe a little obscure, but I worked with a retailer. They sold irrigation and sprinkler supplies. When we looked at the data, a lot of their agents were spending a majority of their time processing warranty requests. They looked at it, and the average handle time for these calls was very, very long, very inefficient. So we were able to use AI, and we automated that entire process of submitting a warranty claim. I think the containment rate for that specific bot, that specific virtual agent, was around 80%. Another real common one that comes to mind that I see is automating password resets for like internal IT help desks. So if I'm locked out of something with my work computer, I can call in, I can validate via different methods, and I can initiate that password reset without actually having to talk to anybody at the time. So again, back into that theme of being available 24/7, that can be extremely useful.
Yeah.
Certainly a better use of time than tying up a expensive live agent's time to do a mundane task such as that too, right?
Exactly.
What do you think, Brad? Do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, just to add what Josh was just talking also, a lot of the password resets, especially for large organizations that maybe don't think of themselves as a large call center type or omni-channel type situation, but they may do a ton of password resets. You can also use some technologies such as voice biometrics to help with two-factor authorization there. So that's something for some organizations that you may not be a massive call center, but you may have a lot of need where you can offload and help your tech support desk for password resets and other things such as that. Also over the years, I was lucky to see some self-service offerings, huge successes for the business, but also the customers. I was part of a large project, the logistics company that did a tracking number. And, there were some limited alphas in it too that are sometimes tricky with large language models. And, we were able to basically look at them in specific slots and not have them random, and then fine tune the language model as you went along, which increased the accuracy and confidence level. It was amazing to see technology work in that situation. I think initially they said about 20% call deflection. And I'm one not to settle, and neither was the client. And they strived for fine tuning. And one of the things you want to do there is, a lot of times people will put a bot in or an automation or a traditional IVR, and it works good. They get 25% containment. But in reality, what you should do is strive to tweak that. There's reporting where you can see where people drop out or stay in the system. And sometimes it's, people are amazed to find if they change how something's worded or bring in like a linguist and listen to it, they may get another 2-3% containment. And depending on how large your call center is, it can be quite significant along those lines. Another one, probably, that's traditionally been or historically been voice, right? But as we were talking about omni-channel earlier, and we were also talking about SMS and texting and chat, et cetera. And I've seen recently a kind of quasi fast food restaurant where they're trying to move the order entry away from the franchisees and into more of like a automated order fashioning or like a global call center, so that the franchisees can focus on making quality food in a timely manner. And one of the things that they're really finding good success with is automating through an app and a web, like a web browser on a mobile device, and then pushing people to either texting or the web chat on that device. and offering them an incentive of like 10 to 15% off their order. Because on the back end, they're saving all the time from the staffing, either in a call center or at the business. And 10 or 15% is nothing as long as they can focus on delivering a quality product. As they are not immune also to what a lot of businesses have struggled with recently is staffing, either at restaurants, at workplaces, factories, you name it. It's
in call centers.
Yeah, and call centers is another one too. So it's been quite a success, and they've been tweaking it, and they're seeing the adoption rates increase. And they're also currently starting to study it from a demographic standpoint, where certain channels are favored by certain groups of individuals.
Interesting. Thank you for the responses. So let's talk a little bit more about AI ML for the agent experience, or for the contact center operation, the company that operates the contact center. We've touched on how it benefits the end customer and their experience, but what about the back end of the contact center? How might this technology benefit the agents behind the scenes and the managers of the contact center?
Yeah, that's the other part of the equation here. It's really hard to be a customer service agent these days. And one of the biggest struggles they have is just gaps in knowledge. So a veteran agent that's been around for a while is probably going to know what to do right away when they get that call or chat or SMS. But someone new, they end up stuck. So they're searching their knowledge base. They got to put the customer on hold and ask their neighbor for help. It doesn't create the best customer experience. But what we're starting to see is a powerful solution to this problem. A lot of companies are calling it agent assist. So the AI in many contact center solutions, it's obviously able to transcribe that call in real time. What we're doing is we're layering keyword detection on top of that. So now you can start to surface help articles to that agent that are relevant to that live conversation. Let me give an example there. So a customer calls in and they need to cancel their account. The AI, it can pick up that phrase, cancel the account, or any similar version or variation of cancel the account. It's going to provide that agent a link to documentation on exactly how to handle that situation, so they're not stuck or searching or asking their neighbor. And if we really want to take this technology to the next level, contact centers can actually start pre-programming in predetermined workflows on that agent desktop that are, again, triggered by that data we have on the customer and what that customer is saying. So in that example, the workflow could prompt the agent with a retention offer, navigate them through the different screens to process the cancellation request, whatever makes the most sense in that situation. So to tie this back to benefit with features like Agent Assist, what we're really doing, we're empowering agents to be successful from day one, which helps retention and overall the customer experience.
And the technology might notice that customer maybe had a bad experience in the recent past, or might have some insight into buying trends and things of that nature, and make recommendations to the agent to say, hey, this customer might be interested in this, or they've been having a tough time, they left a negative review, let's give them a promotion to make them happy, and things of that nature as well, right?
Yeah, all of that visible to the agent and really powered by AI.
Yeah, definitely. So we're talking about technology there, right? And the topic is you had me at hello, and obviously you're not going to have them if the experience is horrible. And we're talking technologies, and we're kind of also maybe the flip side of what Josh was talking there is looking at the quality of the agent, and also the quality of their life within the contact center, and that ties directly into agent attrition. Is a big thing in call centers, especially with the staffing issues that we discussed earlier. So agents inherently want to do a good job. If you put a lot of money into hiring your individuals, you want to train them up. And in the past, a lot of the evaluation solutions were random or manual, or triggered by a client called in on this date. I had this horrible experience with Sally, etc. And it was typically maybe you try to get 5% of the calls at max on a random basis, but you're missing a lot, right? That's like trying to find the needle in the haystack. You're just picking out a small subsection of that. And a lot of times agents often find that unfair. You could be slamming them on their valuation or their monthly valuation when they're like, that's one call that just happened to go into the process. What about the other 99% that have been doing good on? With AI and ML, you can empower it. You're starting to see that come in, so that when you build out your scorecard or your balanced scorecard, you're starting to see a lot of that automate the process, where we may be able to answer, depending on what the scorecard looked like, maybe 70% of the questions before it gets to the call center manager. And it's like ones like, did the agent say hello and introduce himself and announce the company that you were calling? Things like that. It's becoming powerful in how it can auto score a lot of them, and it's quite accurate along the way. And a lot of those also, that's just automating the process of the call center manager. But remember when I talked about trying to find those certain calls that are good or potentially bad? With sentiment analysis, you're able to flag a subset of calls for review based upon the agent. You could have a subset for new agents so that you can get more evaluations done initially and help train them up so they can provide, phenomenal customer experiences along the way.
Sure. And you mentioned sentiment analysis, and that goes for the customers as well. And
yes, it does.
Listening to the words they're saying, and if their tone of voice is angry or happy, if they're using some nasty words or something, that might kind of change how their call is handled, whether a more senior agent or a manager steps in to handle that call. Maybe they get moved up in the queue, so they're not waiting as long as well, to kind of try to alleviate that perhaps negative experience that they're having.
Yeah,
very interesting stuff.
Yeah, Matt, that's a good point. A little story a long time ago when it was first coming out, when you got stereo, where you had the agent, the two channels, right? The agent and the customer. We were going through a subset of recorded calls that we ingested into an engine, right? When it came out, and an executive in the organization goes, I want to see those calls, right? I want to see who's talking to our customers that way. And then on the flip side, we listened to a couple of them, and it was like, it was the customers yelling at the call center agent. And in 99% of them, the agents followed their training and did an excellent job.
Sure. So there's some pretty powerful tools there that are continuing to evolve rapidly, and new stuff coming out on the horizon, which is pretty exciting. Are there any misconceptions related to AI and ML that are worth discussing before we move off of this topic?
Yeah, I'm going to preface it by saying, my hits are probably going to be wrong in the near future with the crazy advancements around generative AI with like ChatGPT. You have, I think, Google with, correct me if I spell wrong, Bard. If anybody's even been on anything with LinkedIn or on the internet, you're seeing so many different applications pulling this core technology. The reality is there's several steps in the process of building out the automated self-service experience. There are actually people out there, called, as I touched on earlier, conversational designers, and you need to map out the desired experience from start to finish. And, it's one flow for one company is not going to be maybe the best for other. There are best trends in the industry. But it is, kind of an art and a science of using the technology and still balancing out the human interaction that's inherent to everyone. Some of us want more automation, and at the same time, some of us still want that personal touch. And I think it's going to be a good balancing act that's going to have to happen for each business.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, and I mean, the AI and ML is evolving quickly with the ChatGPT and Google Bard and others that are out there, and becoming much more human-like. So I would imagine that as that get integrated into the contact center, the experience for the end customer becomes less robotic and more human-like. And in some cases, it might be hard to differentiate between whether you're talking to an AI bot or to an actual human, like when you're doing a chat back and forth and things of that nature. It will be interesting to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, I think, Matt, just to close on that, I think it goes back to the old adage of, design a good system that works for your business, but at the same time, always fine tune it. collect data, understand what's occurring within your customer interactions, and deliver an outstanding product or offering to your clients.
Sure, and it's going to be a different model for every company depending on how they do their business and interact with their customers. We're going to take a quick pause here. There's a poll question up on the screen. Don't mind just kind of answering that, those in the audience, and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Yeah, I'm glad to see some people saying they're open to it. I think that's been my experience over the years. Everyone will start small. They'll test out one kind of AI experience and see how it goes. But I can tell you a lot of people will change that perspective from, hey, we're open to it, to being very much in favor when they see how effective that can be.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. All right, so next topic I think of importance here is reporting and analytics, because those that operate contact centers, need to take the data that they collect and use it in a meaningful way and get insights into, their customers and what their customers want, what makes them happy, what doesn't make them, a whole breadth of things here. And also, the performance of their agents and whether they're up to par or not. So, what are some trends you guys are seeing with regard to reporting and analytics in this world?
Yeah, Matt, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's this available data within all of this reporting that's driving these decisions within the contact centers, as far as, hey, what should we automate? How can we better empower agents, whatever it may be. As we mentioned, it's easier to transcribe calls now. With that, we're getting things like sentiment analysis and keyword detection. It's all these new data sets that, when we pair it with tools out there, and this increasingly larger amount of data and information, we're starting to uncover trends to really help contact centers make more informed decisions. Michael, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, if you're a grouchy old man like me, has been doing this for, like I said, forever. Initially, reporting was literally is abandoned calls, right? That's what people cared about. That's what supervisors cared about. And those reports Matt was talking about was like, hey, how quickly did we answer the call? How many people abandoned, got frustrated because they abandoned because they were late, they couldn't stay on the line much longer, things like that. So that was the initial kind of start, and the big push was that historical reporting versus real-time reporting. And slowly but surely, those reports became much, much more important. And you saw things like workforce optimization, quality assurance getting lumped into contact centers. So now it was not only how many calls did you take, how quickly did you resolve them, how quickly did the person that was calling in for help get to the person who could fix the problem, right? So maybe it was 1 or 2 layers deep, because again, 20 years ago when we first started designing these things, it was truly an experiment. Contact center, workforce optimization, quality assurance, all those kinds of things. There wasn't really a lot of idea that this data was going to be important to anybody other than a help desk supervisor. Well, we know now that's not true, right? We know now that if I start with a virtual agent and escalate to an SMS text or a URL to my email or to a live agent, that all of that information needs to be tracked and understood, because I'm not going to be the first or the last person that has that same experience. We need to have all this reporting. We need to know, hey, do we need to staff at different times a day? Do our bots, consistently get the person to the wrong agent, during the evenings, right? Is it always going to, the wrong section there? And like Brad was bringing up, somebody's got to analyze this stuff. And with AI and ML and all of that kind of fascinating, interesting technologies that we're all using today, somebody's got to design it. That human touch to build it is the way that you're going to get the accurate reporting. And whenever I talk about contact centers, whenever I talk about these experiences, I cannot overstress how important that reporting is, and how it's more than just the help desk supervisor that needs to know what's going on.
Great, thank you. But Brad, what do you think? Anything to add here?
Yeah, definitely on this topic. I mean, we've heard of the terminology for years of the cradle to grave reporting, and another antidote out there is it's always 5 times the amount of money to acquire a new customer versus retaining a customer. Sometimes I feel like it may be even higher than that. And reporting can have enterprise reporting can have shine light the light into various instances. So you got to line up with the enterprise and make sure that there's different departments such as marketing, sales, the executive team. Traditionally, a lot of the call center reporting built into platforms was kind of inherent to the call center itself, like average handle time, speed to answer, aux codes, things like that, right? That were just inherent just to the call center and maybe the workforce management. But I like to take a look at it as more of a holistic approach to the enterprise and accessibility. With this said, flexibility is key. I mean, flexibility. The modern day platforms allow for normalization of the data within the contact center. And, it can be interacted with, systems that you're already utilizing for the enterprise, such as Tableau or Power BI, potentially. As I stated, flexibility is the key. The organization should pay specific attention to aligning their customer experience data with all the corporate departments.
Great. Well, thank you so much, guys. We've covered a lot of stuff here so far. The next thing I guess I'd like to ask is for those companies out there that may not have a contact center solution. Maybe they're still using their PBX system with an IVR for the voice piece, and there's handling emails and SMS messages and chat in different platforms that aren't all combined into one place. But how does one either get started adopting a new contact center solution or migrating a legacy based call center solution over to some of this newer technology?
I always feel like, it's that same thing that you talk about is, you eat your own dog food, right? It's a great place to start is your IT help desk. That's the first help desk that most people, encounter is the support personnel and the folks that help you inside your own business. And there's a lot of reports, historical reports, real-time reporting, all that kind of stuff on what they do and what they do every day. Maybe you have you've gone to the extent of creating a web form for you to, submit a request, but even on that same page on your intranet where you put in your name and your email, what your issues are, if there was just a simple chat bot, and it doesn't even have to be an AI chatbot. It could be a live agent chatbot with those support. You can see how quickly things get resolved. You can prove it to yourself before, putting it out to your customers. You can prove to yourself how quickly things get resolved, how much more information you get into your reporting, that the people enjoy the fact that they can go to an internal page and ask for a password reset on a CRM system or something like that. Again, great place to start. You can check out how it's utilized, how it's billed, the speed of the reporting. And for me, like I said, it's a great place for people to really understand what you're going to present to your clients.
You're saying kind of break it up into chunks or different departments, or perhaps pilot or POC it with a particular division as opposed to going all at once. Perhaps that might be
Absolutely.
a way, especially if you're not really sure of how to use these things or how they might work for you. Well, interesting. Thank you, Michael. We do have one last polling question that's live right now, so we'll just kind of take a minute for that to finish up. If you're in the audience, please take a look at the polling questions and give an answer if you could.
It's great.
All right, looks like it's ending now.
Yep.
So the last topic, I guess I'd like to bring up here, the cloud is the big buzzword these days. Everything's about the cloud, or as a service or SaaS platforms. Why is contact center as a service, also coined CCaaS or cloud contact center? Why has it experienced such rapid adoption over the past few years? And it seems to be the trend everything's going in. So anyone comments on that?
Yeah, I'll grab that one. Unless we've been living under a rock, everybody over the last 5 years has noticed, the gigantic shift to cloud technologies. And contact centers are not immune to that. If anything, they've been at the forefront of adopting the technologies and leveraging the benefits. And we'll touch on a couple of those items. In the early days, there were viable concerns, but with advancements in cloud computing, and I'd say those days are in our rearview mirror. I'd like to look at like roadblocks, or on the positive way of thinking, major advancements in technology that have allowed current CCaaS solutions to have rapid adoption over the last 5 years. I'll probably touch on a couple of those major items. As you run a business, you got to look at reliability and robustness of the cloud contact center platforms. Most of those, over the period now we're at 99.9%. So much to a point that the redundancy is in regions, and you have automatic updates, and the reality is that the reliability is higher than if you had it in your own data center or colo along that way. The other major area is scalability. It's unlimited, right? In reality. So if your business is going to grow, a lot of it's, I'll touch on another item, is consumption based, but the scalability is there. If you need to, you buy a new organization or a new company and you want to bring them on board them onto your technology, you can quickly do that and scale. It's like kind of just opening up the, turning the water valve another turn or a quarter turn. Another one's agility. Obviously, speed to market. You can spin up new business lines or a new offering quickly, and not endure the long procurement process, hardware, contracts, licensing, maintenance, etc. You can quickly move to a new offering or add to your current offering. And then advanced technologies. Most technologies in the contact center, you're always like piecemealing them. I got to go here for my call recording, got to go here for my quality, here for reporting, here for speech analytics. Most of the platforms check all of those boxes in some form or another. And then flexibility, as I stated, kind of, we like to talk about it like a light switch, where you turn it on and it's consumption based. So if your business has any seasonality, promotions, significant growth, or unfortunately, if you have some down growth, you're not stuck with licensing and associated hardware. You can downsize that. So there's a lot of different requirements that can be very appealing to certain businesses and where they're at in their life cycle. And then finally, the big one is always financials. And most of the models are consumption based. It can be OpEx versus CapEx, or buckets of service if required. But the point being made is that it can be structured to however you want it to be to facilitate your business and how you want to do business as an organization. All of those 5 or 6 things I touched on, the important thing to remember is the flexibility, the robustness, and the access to all modern day technologies that are there.
The rapid adoption of new technologies as they become available, especially with some of this AI and ML stuff, which would be less accessible for sure in the older on-premise kind of world.
Yeah, good point.
And disaster recovery, as you kind of mentioned, with redundancy and backup, it's available even when the power's off in your data center in your organizations.
Yeah.
And of course, the work from home aspect of it too, or distributed workforce. That's a biggie these days, right? You can have agents all over the place. They don't all have to be in one contact center or call center location. They can work from home. It's just a matter of logging into web browser essentially. So
Correct.
all good stuff.
One
Well,
thing
thank you.
I'd like to add on that, Matt, is when you talked about flexibility on emerging technologies, it's not all one or the other. If you had a small business line that wanted to do advanced speech applications in AI, you could do that.
Great. Well, thank you so much, guys. It's been a great conversation today. We're just about out of time here, so this is going to conclude our discussion for the day. But thank you, Josh, Brad, and Michael, for your participation today, and thank you to our audience for being here and being involved in the conversation. We're going to open it up now for any questions that the audience might have to via chat, and I believe Jennifer, are you gonna assist with that part?
Actually, I can, or Jeff Ton. So we'll toss a coin, Indian leg wrestle. Yeah, I can take the first one. Give me a second. Let's see what we have here.
Well,
Oh,
I've got one that I'll toss in there. So I win the arm wrestling or the leg wrestling or
yeah,
whatever.
this time you do. Okay.
When you were talking about AI and bots, of course, that seems to be on the top of everybody's mind. How does that bode for the human call center representative? Do you see them going away? Do you see them still augmenting? What do you, and I'd love to hear from each of the four of you on that one.
I think it's subjective to, you know, how a company operates, what their philosophy is. But to be honest, I see both. You know, I see a need, as we mentioned, for, you know, the 24/7 serviceability and offloading the expensive human resources for more mundane tasks like the password resets and checking account balances and things like that. So I think it's a blend. But as the AI becomes more powerful and more human-like, I do see it kind of, you know, maybe weighting heavily towards that. But again, I think it really depends on the company or brand's philosophy and what works for them.
Yeah, I feel that similarly it's that mundane task. You know, 20 years ago when I first was designing call centers, one of the first questions I would ask a CIO was, "Hey, do you have, you know, Microsoft certified, Cisco certified engineers doing password resets?" Right? That's not appropriate, right? So that was the first way I get people to listen to me and go, "Hey, let me help you get, you know, the smart people working on smart problems." So if we can eliminate some of these other issues, it just means that when you call in with a challenging situation, you don't have to go through layers. You can get that first call resolution will be faster because you're going to the right person. You've talked to the AI bot, it realizes it cannot help you. It's not a simple situation, and connects you to somebody who is live and ready and has the historical data of the chat, your order, your sequence, when you called, how you called, having all that pop right up into your face with the CRM information, with a connection from the contact center that is hooked into Salesforce and knows everything about the connection with you and a customer is really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Brad.
Thanks, Josh. You know, I kind of look at it like as the balancing the art and the science of it, right? With technology and the arts being the human interaction. I could sit there and make the greatest bot in the world and force my customers to use it and get a containment of 50% and not give them another option. And I look great because of my cost savings. But the reality is on the back end, you may be bleeding customers, right? Because they're like, I'm done going into here. I want to talk to a person. It wasn't the greatest experience. So that kind of goes back to the fine tuning of the applications, seeing where people are, you know, moving within the bot or dropping out of the bot, and then making changes accordingly that suit the, you know, the life of your customer retention.
Yeah, I'll wrap up and just say it's definitely not an all or nothing scenario. I've talked with plenty of customers that number one priority is live answer. But that doesn't mean you can't throw a bot in after hours or when queue times are really high and you still want to help that customer, or operating in parallel. One cool thing I see is like a payment bot or a payment automation where I'm talking to an agent, it's time to get payment information. I throw them into a bot. The agent doesn't have to listen to anything, way more secure. Customer interacts with that bot, enters their payment information back to the agent. So working in parallel, and just the benefit there is obviously security.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you guys for that. I know I'm guilty of being the one on the IVR that answers every question with representative. 'Cause I want to talk to that human. So we had another question come in related to cloud contact center. If I'm thinking about moving that direction, do I have to move my corporate phone system to the cloud as well?
No, and that's the advantage, right? This is quite literally, this is a massive shift from, if you had talked to me 20 years ago, right? It had to be a suite. These things had to communicate with each other. Your phone system, your
even 10
contact
years
center,
ago.
your agents. Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore. So the contact center can be cloud-based, giving you remote agents, hybrid workforce, all those kinds of things. And while you still, contemplate what you're going to do with your collaboration systems that are connected. So yeah, it really is just a completely different world than it was 20 years ago.
Fabulous. Hey, I want to make sure, Jeff, you saw the question from Joe.
I did not. Let me find it. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So Joe asked, cloud contact center are great, but limited for AI. So how can InterVision help build a custom AI to work with the cloud contact centers?
So just so you know, it's like when Matt introduced me, and I appreciate that, was, my role is here to be the director for the collaboration and AV teams, and of course contact center teams here. Our contact center engineers, for example, are certified in the Google AI technologies, specifically because we want to be able to say to you, hey, tell us what you're looking for. Let's let you know what's possible. The certifications, specializations, things like that we have are there to kind of architect and design, but we can't do it without you. It has to be a Q&A. We have to have a conversation. So I don't like the way I answered that question, but it's honest. If you like
yeah.
it, sit down and have a conversation, it'd be better.
To your point, I mean, we can leverage AI technologies from AWS, from Google. Those are two of the leading ones out there, as well as others. And the AI, can be trained with answers and responses and things of that nature too, to customize it towards a particular business's needs. So it's really, sitting down, as Michael was saying, and consulting with the customer and their needs, and coming up with a unique solution that fits their needs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the bots we build are always going to be custom. We have to understand your specific vernacular, how you want to approach things, and do the conversational design portion on top of deciding which technologies to use for that. And yeah, every company is a little bit different with how they want to approach that. So yeah.
Any other final thoughts on custom AI?
We're good.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you very, very much. Appreciate the insights into contact center. And again, I love the title. You had me with hello. So that was an awesome way to get things rolling. For those attending, if you want to get in touch with these folks, you can reach out to them via the InterVision website. I'm sure they'd be happy to answer any questions for you. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.